Live out here in Las Vegas, SportsGrid with Orange Cassidy. I'm Kevin Walsh. That is Greg Sussman. OC, an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. This setup is far better than anything I think look at this.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Basically a Titantron. I'll start with this.
It is.
Collision, Saturday. Tomohiro Ishii. Somehow, at the same time, wildly surprising, feels very on brand for you.
Yeah, I mean, he is a friend. We're in the same group, Chaos. And I've actually teamed with him many times. He asked for a title shot. I'm going to give it to him. That's what this championship, I am the international champion for All Elite Wrestling. And when I won this championship, I decided that I was going to defend it as many times as I wanted to against whoever, wherever. So might as well keep the trend going and then wrestle against the Stone Pitbull and try not to get beat up.
Yeah, that's probably how it'll go to some degree.
Yeah.
The follow-up question, though, is whenever you start wrestling Japanese legends, people start asking when, if, where will you wrestle Minoru Suzuki?
I'm not ducking him.
I believe that.
And he's not ducking me.
Believe that.
The stars will align one day. They will.
You mentioned that anyone that wants a title shot can get a title shot. That's always kind of been your mantra. And for all of last year, you basically opened Dynamite every single week.
Yeah.
For, 6 months, give or take. And
I lost count.
For me, it was the highlight of the show. You were the MVP. You were someone I was like, hey, this should be the guy that closes the show.
Right.
Is that an aspiration for you?
I take it. Tony Khan puts the matches where he wants to put them, and I think I'm very privileged to be able to open the show. Right? I feel like that's an indication of like, hey, you're gonna watch this show maybe for the first time. You're watching another show. You come into it, and it's like, I think he understands. Like, he thinks maybe I help people not change the channel, which is nice. I just want to have the best matches I possibly can. I want to wrestle the matches that I want to wrestle, like the way I want to wrestle them. Yeah. And he lets me do that. So if he wants to put me first, he wants to put me last, he wants to put me right in the middle, I don't care. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Well, also, for those, if you get in the weeds of it, right, all the demos and the numbers, the open of the show is actually always the most viewed. So that speaks to what you are talking about there. But you just mentioned wrestle how you want to wrestle. I always feel that they've done a good job on commentary, Excalibur and Shivani, for people that weren't aware prior to AEW,
right,
explaining what you're doing inside the matches there. Do you feel that AEW has really been able to get Orange Cassidy and what you are doing on a weekly basis?
I think I wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be sitting here with all of these robot cameras looking at me here at the Super Bowl if AEW didn't exist. They are the ones that allowed me to be who I want to be. Orange Cassidy is unlike. I'm doing things that no one else has done before, and for a company of this size, of this magnitude, letting me do what I want to do and letting me evolve is a big thing. I think I think they're fully on board, obviously, but I've never had anybody tell me you shouldn't do something. They let me do what I want to do, and throughout my career, if you started watching me 4 years ago, I wrestle different now than I did then. Getting stabbed in the head with a fork by Jon Moxley will do that to you. Punching Chris Jericho in a vat of mimosa will do that to you. But the idea that you have this, that you will see me, if you start with AEW, you see me then and now, yeah, I've changed. I'm a human being. Like, I'm going to change. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that AEW is that allowed me to do. I'm very grateful for it.
I actually find what you do and like the story AEW has told with you to be, well, not just reliable, but better than most, because it has been a 4-year evolution from really not wrestling all that much to kind of doing some of the comedy stuff to them being the workhorse, essentially,
Right.
which is what you become. And it's something that has brought in a lot of non-traditional wrestling fans, right? People come to AEW for all sorts of things, sports, charisma, whatever, and then you bring something that we haven't seen before. And I think for me, that's what's drawn me to you, why I wanted to be a part of this interview, because it's not a Rock imitation that we've seen many times before, right? It's something totally different, and I am just very impressed with the amount of casual fans that we have talked to that I like this guy, and they can't tell you what it is, but they feel it.
The biggest compliment I get is when I do like meet and greets or if I'm walking around and like somebody will come up and like, oh, this is my mom.
Right.
And she's here because she saw you on TV. And they'd be like, I've been watching wrestling for 20 years. Once she saw you, then she wanted to come to the shows.
Yeah.
When I hear that, it's like, oh, okay, well, then I'm doing something right. Because I feel like professional wrestling is this art. It's an art that I'm able to do the way I want to do it. And I want you to feel different emotions. I want people to connect with it because I think it's one of the greatest art forms on earth. And I to introduce new people into it because I put my hands in my pockets.
But
great.
So you do the hands in the pockets, right? So that draws in the casuals, however you want to label it. But also the first title run, right?
Yes.
Is, especially at that time in the company, was the most pro wrestling story going on by a mile.
Right.
Everyone who watches wrestling understands there's tiers to wrestlers, and at times TV title matches, you feel the results will get predictable because to put a title match on TV, you're wrestling someone outside of the tier. For the last, we call it a 6-month run, it was longer, but the last 2 months, we would just talk, and I'd be like, I think he's losing this week. Regardless of the tier of the wrestler, because the story was, I've been going 6 months nonstop, and this is impossible.
There are a lot of people, as I'm sure you know, that will say some things about me that aren't so nice. And I know when I hear that you're not watching me. Mm-hmm. You saw a clip online that was 10 seconds long because I am doing what professional wrestling is.
100%.
And I take a lot of pride in it. And I was able to do those matches that you were saying because, I can do them.
Through this run, has there been someone that you haven't gotten to get in the ring with yet that you want to?
I'm going to be very honest with you.
Sure.
There is nobody I want to get in the ring with because I try to avoid wrestling whenever I can.
You're not.
But I wrestle all.
You're not good at that.
And I'm doing a terrible job because I wrestle every single week. So if someone doesn't want to wrestle me one week, great.
Cool.
I'm okay.
That is the only thing I will say you seem to be doing a bad job at.
Terrible.
Quick Chuck update. Is he injured because he just wants to be Joel Embiid and he's following suit?
Hey, that could be very, very true. I mean, he is the I should go check up on him.
He's not a best friend. That's the issue.
Yeah, he.
That was a tough spot there. It's not confirmed yet, but I'd like to assume Forbidden Door 1, you and Ospreay stole a show, which I think you said was maybe your 5th breakout match, which I did love the description of that.
Yeah.
Forbidden Door 3, it's a lot of speculation. Maybe there could be CMLL involvement. I know you just said you don't want to wrestle, but yes, you do.
Right.
Is that something that is interesting to you?
Yeah. Simple answer. Yes. Yeah. Because I think it's important that we show as many different styles of professional wrestling as we can. Mm-hmm. And I also enjoy wrestling different styles as I can because it also makes me palatable from week to week. If I'm doing the same thing every week, I think the variation of opponents and styles clashing is what wrestling's all about. So, and I have a great respect for Lucha Libre. So, I'm all for it.
100%.
Hey, bring it on. Clearly, look how ready I am for it.
Absolutely,
Here we go.
100%. the international champion, Orange Cassidy of AEW, live with us here on Sports Grid from Las Vegas.